I'd like to welcome IJKL to the gallery of Sheva Chaya in the mystical, magical city of TSFAT, and to thank you, Sheva, for opening your studio and your hearts to us. During the course of your presentation, if you don't tell us your training, your background, where you're from, what your inspiration is, I can promise you that our group will have questions for you. And the sessions are tremendously fun, and we're not here to hear me. Tell me when you want me to start the screen share, and we will begin.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to get to be with everyone in these special times. It's an amazing thing to get to really be together despite all of the challenges. And it's great to see everyone's faces also. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Sheva Chaya, and I'm here in my glass-blowing gallery in TSFAT. I know some of you have visited me here before. Everyone's invited to visit as soon as possible. Hopefully we'll meet in person sooner than later. So just to give you a little background, I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and I grew up with no dreams to live in TSFAT. I never even heard of TSFAT when I was growing up. The first time I came to Israel, I was 17, and not expecting anything, I just to go on a trip. Sounded really fun as a 17-year-old, which it was. And it was a 5-week trip, and we traveled all around Israel. And we saw all the sights. What I remember the most was really we were on and off the bus. And going on and off the bus, I just kept looking out the window. And being from Denver, I had a lot of inspiration looking out the window. It's an amazing view, pretty much everywhere in Denver. You look and you see the beautiful sky and the beautiful mountains. So I was doing this here in Israel, and there was also really beautiful views everywhere I looked. And it also amazed me how everything was changing so fast. You would drive for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and it was a totally new ecosystem, a totally new view. Another 10, 15, 20 minutes again, it would happen. And this is not what I was used to growing up in Colorado. You could drive 8 hours, 12 hours, still the Rocky Mountains, still very beautiful, but a lot of the same. So I was really intrigued by Israel. I could tell there was something about it that I had a lot to learn, and there was so much, even though it seemed to be the tiniest place ever, it seemed to have the most happening ever also. So I was really curious, and I knew I wanted to come back. And then every time I came back, I had more good reasons to come back. And basically when I was in college, so I went to Princeton in New Jersey and majored in art and art history. And for my junior year, I went abroad. The first semester I was in Paris and France in the museums. And the second semester I came to Jerusalem, to Hebrew University. And that second semester when we came to Israel, I just kind of, even though I was in school, I just kind of immersed. Myself and a couple of friends got an apartment in the old city, in the Rova in Jerusalem. And I had never had an experience like that, living in such a place. And we would travel over to Har HaTzofim, to the school every day. It was really an adventure. And I just more and more became interested in learning about the tradition, being part of it, being part of things. And I was also getting into art at the same time. So my journey reconnecting with our heritage, with Israel and art, they go hand in hand. They totally went together the whole time, which is interesting and it's significant. And so the artwork itself does reflect this journey. Really, all of my artwork is reflections of my life along the way, which might be true of all artwork, but to me it's very obvious that that's really what it is. So I think I'm ready for this screen share. I'll start to share a few of the paintings. I want to start with some paintings, and we'll get to the glass blowing after we see a few of the paintings as a bit of an intro. So this is okay, so we jumped. Okay, go back to the
Shem, do you want me You want to go back? Okay.
Yeah, if you can go to the cup, I'll just say a word on it. Thank you. So this is a cup where it's a picture drawn on a cup. It's all hand drawn, basically glass on glass, which I'll show you that technique in a moment when we do the glass blowing. And it's a circle dance. So they're basically women holding hands, dancing around the cup. And this is a process that I really, sometimes people ask me, how long did it take you to make that, right? This is like the $1 million question for artists that artists don't love answering. But when I look at something like this piece, it's everything added up to this piece, because the combination of being able to draw something in motion on glass and have an idea of this, like a picture on a three-dimensional piece that actually makes sense with a two-dimensional picture that meets a three-dimensional piece, which to me is a really, really special combination. And so because glass is translucent, there really is a picture on both sides, the inside and outside the picture, inside and outside of the figures. I did, separate, layers and layers of drawings, so you really see something different on the inside of their faces and on the outside of their backs. Okay, so that's the circle dance cup, and this is a theme that I really love, the circle dance. It comes up quite a bit in my artwork. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide. This is a sculpture chandelier piece that I made with a designer here in Jerusalem named Judy Brott. She's a good friend and a really, really accomplished person in general and interior designer. And this is in a private residence in Jerusalem on the 20th floor. And I call it Flyaway Home Design, which is, it's this flock of birds. There's about 70 birds. Each one I made by hand, with the glass. And we hung the pieces above the Shabbat table of the family and with the lights above and the birds hanging down. And the idea was, it's an incredible view there, where basically it says if they're kind of flying in the window on the other side of this. You can't see in this picture exactly, but if anyone wants to look afterwards on my Facebook and Instagram and website, there are a variety of pictures around this piece, which are kind of give you a sense of the space more. And whenever I have designed a chandelier sculptural piece for anyone, a big part of what I look for in the beginning in terms of deciding the design is the space that it's going into itself. So I really, the space that a sculpture is in is as important as the sculpture itself. So this one, really had the effect of these birds basically as if they were flying in the window. And it was especially special to this family because they had just made Aliyah. And I named the piece Flyaway Home to Zion. So it was like very meaningful and still is. I actually posted this recently on my Facebook, and the owner of the piece was so happy, and she was so affected by my words about it and the meaning behind it. Artwork can be beautiful, but to me, one of the more important things is the meaning. It should be beautiful also, but the meaning is really a key element. Okay, so I'm ready for the next piece. Okay, this is a part of a newer series that I've been painting called the last song, the last dance before Shabbat. Basically, this theme is based on the idea of transitions in time. So I grew up I didn't know what Shabbat was growing up. I only learned about Shabbat in my early 20s when I was in Israel, and never really tried it before. And when I did try it, having grown up, not stopping and going through every day as a similar type of day and not stopping and taking a day of rest like that, it was a really different experience to stop. And after I had my first or maybe even second Shabbat, I would go into the week, the 6 days of the week, and it started to make me really think, it's really different. Those 6 days are really different, where we're creative and we're pushing forward and trying new things, as opposed to sitting and watching and looking at the creation and enjoying the delicacies that are already prepared, saying letting live and let God, right? And so that experience was so different. It was such a contrast to me. It made me really think that every week before going into Shabbat, there was this moment where you switched from creative, active life to Shabbat mode. And so that was the inspiration behind this piece and a couple others, where it's this moment of, say, doing one last thing before making the shift into Shabbat mode. So this is one of two. And I know it's much better on screen share, but I'm going to hold up one more just so you all can see. Hold on one second. So this, I didn't make this one into the slideshow, but this is the first one where you have here in the corner this last song before Shabbat. He's playing his last song before Shabbat. And the theme, the style of this type of painting is a kind of a Van Gogh style where you see the brush strokes, you see the movement of the piece, which for me, when I got into art, this was one of the big inspirations at first. I thought it'd be so amazing if a painting, even though a painting is like a still, you know, it's like captured in time, that moment, if that moment that it's capturing could be like dynamic, that it's like moving somehow. So people dancing or time moving or seeing the music, that type of thing is very, very interesting to me. Okay, so that's that series. This is a piece, so the Circle of Infinite Love. Somebody asked me to do this piece as a commission. The mother and child dancing, the image in the center of the piece is a painting that I made for a book cover on motherhood. That is a very inspirational, beautiful book. And we took this image, and then they took a piece from the Talmud, from the Gemara, which it's all these blessings of parents to children. It's really, really beautiful. And so I wrote it on one side in the Aramaic and on the other side in English. It's all hand painted, the words, and then there's a special inscription below that the parents wrote for their children, which I painted it on for them. So this is an example of a commission piece where a beautiful painting that they found meaning in the painting, and then they really made it their own. That we took it to another level where I really, it's a totally unique piece that they really invested in it from their hearts, deciding what the content would be, which I thought was really, really special. Okay. So Golda Meir, this is a piece, there's quite a few examples of pieces where I like to write words on paintings as well. This is one of the types of paintings that I like to do. And I'll just read the words that we put on there. These are all quotes from Golda Meir. So, peace will come when the Arabs will love their children more than they hate us. We hate war. We do not rejoice in victories. We rejoice when a new kind of cotton is grown, or when strawberries bloom in Israel. Those who know how to weep with their whole heart, those who don't know how to weep with their whole heart don't know how to laugh either. So I picked out a few lines of words that Golda Meir said that I found really inspiring. And it's such an incredible thing, the depth of every single person. But think about it as, Golda Meir as a figure in the history of Israel. Some of these, what she said, it's like so far from politics. It's so much about life. It's such a beautiful thing to have this, very personalized, feminine approach to saying something significant, saying something that will affect people. I just thought it really, really inspirational and beautiful. Okay, this is one of the first watercolor paintings that I made. I actually started with oil paintings and switched to watercolors. And when I was first learning painting, like I mentioned, I was starting on my journey to learn about Judaism and Israel, which means I was also learning the letters of the alphabet. I didn't know them. So when I was in my early 20s, sitting in my dorm room in Princeton, I was learning Aleph, Beth, Gimel, letter by letter, and learning how to sound out the words like a little 5-year-old. And I found every letter to be so special and beautiful, built on the other pieces. So the mem, I particularly picked out a couple of letters that I found really special. The mem, I understood the letter itself is the first letter of the word mayim, which is water. And the word itself is like mayim. How do you spell mem? Mem, and then mem sofit, which is basically like mayim. So the essence of the meaning of the letter is within the name of the letter itself, which is really mind-blowing and amazing to me. So that was the inspiration behind this painting. Basically, I made the mem look like a well. The mem itself and the brown pieces around the top are basically like the stones of a well. And then water coming in and flowing out. That's the idea, and then the flow out into different themes around it. But this is really a very early piece. And I said specifically, to Kim, I thought it would be really nice for this session, since a good number of us have already met before you coming to my gallery here in Spa. I thought I'd share a few different paintings than I normally share when people come to the gallery. So this is a unique one. Okay, this one is called Birkat HaChama. We have this very unique time to say a blessing. It comes once every 28 years, where there's a special blessing on the sun. Right, so we do once a month. We do Birkat Levana, the blessing around the moon. That's once a month. But every 28 years, there's a blessing on the sun. So this happened a few years ago. And I heard, that people were talking about it, it was coming up. And I thought, wow, I have to do something. It's such a special day. It only comes every 28 years. I better not miss it. So I decided to go out into the fields here near TSFAT, towards Meron, where Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is, and paint out in nature. And this is what came out. And it came out kind of like a natural menorah, maybe an eye, maybe a goblet shining out. And part of why I went near Meron and Rabbi Shimon to paint this painting is because this is one of the ways that Rabbi Shimon was described. So we have this idea of a tzaddik, of a very righteous person. And a very righteous person, one way that they're described, it happens with the Baal Shem Tov and also Rabbi Shimon, is that they shine like the sun shines, like the 7 days of sunlight, which is a very strong, powerful light. And it happens to be that Birkat HaChama, why is it every 28 years? How do they calculate that? Basically, every 28 years, where the sun is in the sky, at that moment, every 28 years, it comes out on the exact day that the sun was created, and that the sun is in the same place in the universe where it was when it was created. So it's really, and the blessing in that moment is Oseh Maseh Bereshit, right? Which is bringing us back to beginnings, right? Our beginnings are always part of a bigger cycle, right? We have this beautiful ongoing life cycle that we're in, and we're noting along the way amazing moments such as the sun returning to its exact place of creation every 28 years. So this is the painting that came out for that.
I love the menorah, and I love the
Yeah.
birds and the animals and all of creation that's hidden in the picture. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I have to move. Oh. Change it.
Okay.
I have to go into the next one, Sheva. Do I have to?
So this one I call Talmea, and this was also a very early painting. I pulled out some special ones that I haven't really shared with you all before. There's a pasuk up in the right-hand corner, a line that this was literally one of the first times I wrote a Hebrew sentence. I'm definitely painted it on a painting. I was just learning the letters in these days. And this is a line, it comes up in the Psalms of King David and also in Perek Shira. And the line in Perek Shira, it's the song of the vegetables of the field. And it's basically saying, to paraphrase, the line is saying that dews fall on the hillside, on the mountainside, and everything will be blessed and grow. So this painting, the way that I approached this painting was, it was just an exploration. I just went, it was literally this one was literally that I actually painted with watercolor. And so you see, if you can look a little bit inside the painting, so if you look in the middle, there's a middle line of the painting. If you go down the center middle, and just to the right of it, there's an eye and a nose and a face looking up to the left. I don't know if you see that. I don't know how to point on the screen. I don't know if
No, I
can.
can. Is my cursor on it? Is that a head and with a bird? Looks like St. Tom. Am I there? It got very quiet. Sheva, are you there? Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. So is this where we are? Anyways, are we ready for
yeah. Anyways, so it's kind of hidden in there, but there's also a there's a view of a sunset in there. And to me, this painting gave a real sense of just growth and movement and rising upwards, and the experience of exploring the material. It just came through it just fit in my mind to this line saying, really, you know, it's like one of the underlying elements of reality, of nature, is that life grows, right? Like the nature keeps growing. Yes, we go through cycles of more growth and then, you know, the breakdown and then growth again. But the way that this picture came out, I just felt like it was just so rising and full of life and rising upwards. And this was really the beginning for me of exploring artwork through painting. So it's a really special piece to me in particular.
Huh.
Okay. Is that the last one? Okay.
Maybe it is. Maybe that's why it disappeared when I got there. I'll check.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, even if it's not, I can, I don't mind. I can just continue on to the glass blowing. We can move on to that. We have plenty of fun things to see here as well. So so I'm just gonna get set up here, make sure everything is in line so you guys can see.
Sheva, can I ask a question? How long does it take you to do one of those paintings, like the last one?
Right, so I've had different phases along the way. When I first started painting, I would just paint a painting, it would just come out. And, you know, it was probably between 2 and 4, maybe 5 hours total. But I would really just go in and keep painting until it was finished, which that last one, which I shared, was like that, definitely. And then in more recent years, and I think I've really been affected by the glass blowing that I've been doing, because painting and glass blowing they're really different. You know, there are certain things that are similar and overlap, like the translucence and the flow. But with glass blowing, you have to have a plan. You have to start at the beginning of the process. You have to do step 1 and then step 2 and then step 3 in order. And if you get things out of order, it won't work. With painting, there's a lot of freedom. You know, you can really kind of just paint and you can even paint over, and you could even pour paint and cover a canvas with just color and call it a painting. There's a lot of freedom there. And so when I first started artwork, I was really coming from this place of really just wanting to let my heart kind of speak and express itself. So it was really kind of an open flow type of an approach. And then when I started getting into glass blowing about 15 years ago, it was a new phase for me. I had to really start thinking ahead before just doing art. I had to make a plan. I had to know what order the steps would go in. And after 15 years of that, or maybe even 10, I started to, that started to affect my paintings also. That I still love to get into the flow of painting and love the freedom of it, but I do think more about it, and therefore it takes more time. You know, if you make a plan and you have to go through each step, and it's a different pace, I would say, you know. So yeah, it depends on the painting, but that said, they usually don't take me too long, because if it takes too long, I'm usually on to the next thing. So I really like to be in, you know, I give my heart and soul and be really focused in it while I'm doing it. So therefore, I really try to just do it while I'm doing it, you know, if that makes sense. Any other
Thank you.
questions? You're welcome.
I do. Our group is followers of Zalman Schachter Shalomi, and you did an amazing, very 60s type picture of him, and it wasn't on your website any longer. Are you still producing
yeah.
that, or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I have it. Here, I'm going to show you guys it. Hold on one second. I have it in my book. I'll bring it to show you. Yeah, so my webpage, I need to update it a bit. This is a retrospective book that I put out. It has about 90 paintings in it over the years. It's like a 20-year retrospective. And because I found, even though I have this big, beautiful gallery here, I found there's just not really enough wall space to really show everything. So I decided I'd make a book. So here, this picture, I hope you can see it. There's Zalman.
This
Yeah, and it does
might
have
be
a very,
to everybody, but if you put your view on speaker, you'll be able to see this close up in case you haven't already figured that out.
yeah, so it does have kind of like a 60s vibe, this picture. I'm actually good friends with Zalman's daughter, Shalvi. She lives down the street from me. And we've known each other here in Israel for 20 plus years. And so, you know, I've had and also Alana, you know, her Ima, her mom lives down the street. So I have my own version of kind of a secondhand taste you know, getting the vibe basically to say, and that feeling of really, you know, we have our internal world and then there's the external world around us, and some type of unifying, recognizing how we're all part of something bigger and connected. I think this really comes through with it's like the vibe of this type of teaching that Reb Zalman brought, and the type of neshama, the type of people that he's able to reach, you know, really connect to that type of thing. So I let myself really get into that type of a feeling with this painting, especially, you know, the background. But yeah, okay, so I did want to point this out, that I have this book, and I did, just before this whole world changing, you know, virus thing happened. So I finally published this book. I thought, oh, people will come in the summer and I'll be able to sell it. So I do have this available. This is something that I have available, and I haven't hardly been able to show it to anybody since we don't have any tourists at the moment coming here. So I'm glad I got to share that with you. Yeah. Any other questions at this point before I start? When I blow glass, I'll be happy to answer questions. It's just a little bit more, my hands will be full and I'll have a lot to do there. Yeah.
Will you add the Zalman back onto your website?
Yeah, I can put it up there for sure. Yeah, I'll make a
Thank you.
note to do that. Yeah.
I have a question. I came in late, but so the first one for me that I saw was the one in blue with all the blues with the person playing the musical instrument in the center.
Yeah.
What is the approximate cost of that painting, and what is the approximate size?
So I offer a variety of sizes, and so the price is according to the size. But I have from a small kind of like 4x4 inch all the way up to 22 by 30 inch options. And the price range is unframed. It goes from about $60 to $300, that range. But you can also be in touch with me directly and look online. And I can help you, find what's appropriate for what you would like, and any of the pictures. This book is a good way to actually get a lot of my artwork at once, because it's a nice, like, coffee table book. You can flip through it, and it's many, many paintings. So you get to, and it's really nice full color, like you get a real sense of a lot of paintings. And, but really any of those paintings and any paintings I've ever made are available in these different sizes of prints. So anyone who's interested can really feel free to be in touch with me. If finding it on the website isn't the easiest, just reach out directly. That's totally
Okay,
fine.
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions now? Okay, so yeah.
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm looking on the website and I'm deciding between two. Would you recommend the watercolor paper or the canvas?
Okay, so it really is a question of taste, personal taste. Some people feel like a canvas has an art feel to it, like a special art feel to it. So if that's meaningful, that's great. The originals of all these paintings were on watercolor paper. So for me, closest to the original is the paper. And I think the feeling of the painting, it's closest to the original, what I put out there to get it on watercolor paper. So that's my own personal opinion. Some people, they just really like the feel of having a canvas because then it feels like, quote unquote, like art, So.
As Sheva starts the glass blowing, I just really love that we're going to support you through bringing your work into our homes. Let's bring that conversation offline. Sheva is very, very available to work with each of us. So everything is affordable in the range you want to be. But I think let's use this time to see
It was
what you're
affordable.
doing. But thank you, everybody. Go ahead.
I liked it,
Great.
and Shah has.
Okay, good. So let's get into the glass blowing, and I will do my best to explain what I'm doing as I go. The raw materials, I'm going to make a piece now from beginning to end, so you'll see the process. So the raw materials are tubes. This is an open big tube of glass. Okay. I also have rods of color, 6 of glass, different colors that I picked out for this piece. Okay, 6 of glass, and there's also broken glass, little shards of broken glass. So I'm going to use a little bit of each of these types of glass to make a piece, so you can see many different techniques in a relatively short time. Okay, usually glass blowing takes a long time. It takes it's quite a process, and for the demonstration, I like to show as much as possible without it taking too long, because even the shortest version takes a good amount of time. So we'll start by setting up the piece. And I'll share with you a couple of words about this type of glass. So the glass is called borosilicate. It's basically like Pyrex glass. So any piece that I make can be heated up again afterwards, meaning you could light a candle in it, you could put it through the dishwasher, drink hot coffee out of it. It's a usable glass. And to melt the glass, you need a very, very hot flame. So this fire goes above 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The glass goes to about 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit. It's super hot. But I'm not wearing gloves. You see, it's just my hands directly touching the glass. So why doesn't the glass heat up and burn my hands? So glass is an insulator, not a conductor. Luckily for me, the heat really is concentrated right where I put the fire on the glass. And so as long as it's long enough, I'm in good shape. I can hold the glass directly, and this really helps me with manipulating the glass however I want. The first thing I want to do is make a handle so I can hold the glass, and the handle also serves as a blowpipe. So the blowing part of the glass is movable. Here, I'll stretch it out. Little moments, a great opportunity to make a change. It's already over, goes back to being hard, unmovable glass. I'll use the fire also to cut the glass. And there's water over here. Okay, so I just opened the end of the tube, that's a blowpipe, and I'm fire polishing the end so it's not sharp. Okay, now it's just a little bit of fire on the tip of that will make it a smooth edge as opposed to a broken edge. And I'll let that cool off for a minute and prepare a few other pieces. So while I prepare this, I want to share with you a little bit of my experience with the glass. When I first started blowing glass, we were just moving here to TSFAT. And I asked myself the question, what's the connection? You know, you can find a connection, learn something from anything. So I thought, you know, TSFAT is a city, it's a really unique city. It's one of the 4 holy cities in Israel. And the 4 holy cities, each one is connected to one of the elements. So Jerusalem is fire. And by the way, in this process of doing the glass work, all of the elements are present. Here I'm stretching this piece as well. This is a solid piece. I'll use that for drawing glass on glass. Okay, so we have the fire element, that's Jerusalem. We have the water, which I threw some glass out into a moment ago. That's Tiberias, the Sea of Galilee. We have earth, that's the glass itself. The glass is made from sand. Okay, and then we have air. It's glass blowing, right? So the air is still in my lungs, whatever, or it will be the air coming from my lungs when I actually get to the moment of blowing the glass. So TSFAT is the holy city connected to the element of air. This is glass blowing. And air in Hebrew is ruach, right? Which is also like a spirit. And the ruach, the spirit of the artist, makes the piece. And spirit level, the ruach level of any type of learning that we do is a kind of a deeper inner level. Just like the spirit of a person, their breath is inside of them. It's in their lungs. It's their essence. So when I started blowing glass here in TSFAT, I thought there must be some teachings connected to glass on this level. And I started to look, I started to search for sources. And what I found really amazed me. It reminded me of what I'm showing you, glass blowing. So I want to share with you a couple of examples of these sources, these teachings that I learned. The first one comes from the prophecy of Jeremiah. Can you guys hear me okay when I'm talking? I just turned off the fan, maybe that'll help a little bit. Okay, good. So the first source I want to share comes from Jeremiah, the prophet, the Navi. And he says that we are like the material in the hands of the craftsman. We're created, right? Since we're created, when we see something being created, we can relate to the material, right? How am I like clay in the hands of the potter? How am I like wood in the hands of the carpenter, glass, metal, fabric, any material? So how am I like glass? How are we like glass? What is glass like? Anybody have any ideas? What do you think of when you think of glass?
Because it's clear, I think of clarity.
Nice,
It's transparent.
beautiful.
Strong,
I think of sand. It's the source.
fragile.
Fragile on the sand, the torch. Right, very good. And all of these elements you're bringing up are really true and beautiful. And what the prophet brings up is exactly I would say the most, of all the times I've asked people that question, the most common answer that I get with glass is that it's fragile, right? It's breakable, which is it's something well known about glass. And that's true. We're seeing now with working with the glass that not only is glass breakable, glass is so malleable. When it's hot, it's the opposite of breakable. You can't break hot glass. If you try to break hot glass, it'll move, right? It'll smush, it'll expand, it'll change shape. So this is a paradox. This is two opposites brought together that this material shows us. And that's exactly what the prophet focuses on. He says, how are we like glass? He says, like glass, we are broken and whole, right? That fragility aspect and the malleability aspect, both of them. And it's a paradox. It's true about glass and it's true about us. So I'm going to show you a technique now that reminded me of this teaching. You see the end of the glass piece now is glowing, right? So we know that when the glass is hot and glowing, it's movable, like we already saw, and it's also sticky. So wherever the glass is hot enough, I will be able to attach it to other pieces of glass. So here I'm rolling the hot glass in little broken pieces of glass, and they stick to the glass. Let's see if we can see that on the screen. Give it a minute to cool off, maybe that'll help. You see those little dots? So the dark dots are the shards of broken glass, okay? And then I'll put those back in the flame and they'll melt in and they become color, right? Design, dots of color on the piece. So this whole experience of taking the whole glass that's hot and glowing and rolling it in broken pieces, attaching them, putting them back in the flame and attaching it together, this whole experience is giving us a deep insight into ourselves. How we are really, we're so resilient. We keep coming back. Each of us individually, we have our own stories of challenge and perseverance. And all of us together as a people, we have a lot of examples of historically incredible amount of challenge and incredible amount of surviving and persistence and growing and rising again to our strength again and again and again throughout history. You can take pretty much any century and some story is there that tells this story. You can take pretty much any holiday in the cycle of a year of Jewish holidays, and the holidays, Passover celebrates that we almost were so sunken into Egypt that we couldn't leave, and then we left. Purim celebrates that we came down to they wanted to destroy us, and then everything turned around for the good. Hanukkah, it seemed like it was all over, there was nothing left, and then one little cod of oil was left, and from that, the menorah was lit forever, right? So this unbelievable ability, experience of rising again and again out of brokenness. This is really something that we see with the glass, because the glass, even though brokenness is part of the story, the brokenness is not the story. It's not the whole story. The whole story includes the fire, and the fire keeps making it all whole and smooth and beautiful again and again and again. So the fire is a symbol of anything that does that, right? Coming together as a community like we are here now, family, love, doing something good, thinking something good, anything building, binding, connecting type of a thing, that is like the fire in this analogy. And we historically and presently have this fire. This fire is actually, it's something that we can't even lose, even if we try. It's something that stays with us no matter what happens. So this is one of the beautiful teachings that comes from glass. And it really tells us something about ourselves that maybe we already knew it, or maybe we need to contemplate it a little bit more. How incredibly resilient we are, and how really, honestly, we have been through so much, and really amazingly, we keep going, right? We keep going, not only we keep going strong, right? What a beautiful thing it is to see a community coming together. I see you have consistency, you're persistent through this time, and getting together with meaningful content, connecting to Israel, connecting to each other. That's just one little example, but it's beautiful. It's very unique. You know, the world response to the crisis that we're currently in. Let's just say it's not always on that level. It's a very beautiful thing to see people coming together, and it really tells us something about ourselves. It tells us something about what we're made of, which is kind of like glass, and we have that fire. Okay, so while talking there, I did a little design. Let's see if we can see it in this nice little camera. Yeah, it's coming up a little bit. So those little lines are basically glass drawn on glass. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more, and hopefully you can see that as well, and then we'll get to the blowing. And if anyone has questions, feel free to just say it out. I'm here. Okay, so if there aren't questions right now, I'll share another little idea. I realized after doing this glass blowing presentation many, many times that really we have a life moment that involves glass and even broken glass that's really special and significant, right? The breaking of the glass at a wedding under the chuppah. So as we know, we have this tradition that's very deep. And when we have our happiest moments, we not only celebrate deeply and get, really let ourselves celebrate and be joyous, we also go really deep and we remember in our happiest moments that the world still has brokenness in it. And this example at the wedding is one of the top examples of this. At the wedding, this moment of joy, family and friends, everyone together. In the middle of it all, boom, we break a glass. Why are we breaking things when we're happy? So we have this tradition of being in such, it's really an auspicious moment, actually, under the chuppah, for many reasons. But joy makes a moment auspicious in the first place. And the joy of that moment, coupled with the consciousness, remembering in that moment at the same time, remembering that the world still needs fixing, that we're still waiting for Jerusalem, our hearts, to come back to wholeness, to come around to wholeness, to recognize that while we're so happy that there's still so much brokenness. And here we are now, here in Israel now, we're literally, the skies are getting dark, we're going into Rosh Chodesh Av. So what an appropriate time for such a subject, right? Where we, in our deepest moments of challenge, we also remember life, right? We're going to celebrate life. And in our deepest moments of joy, we remember we still are waiting for the world to come around to the wholeness that we're hoping for. So we break a glass. So I realized, I could make a glass to be broken. And I wouldn't just want to do that. I wouldn't want to leave it just there. So I decided to start making a glass to be broken at the chuppah. And then the broken pieces are saved and sent back to me here in TSFAT. And I take the broken pieces, and just like we saw a few moments ago, I put the broken pieces on the table, heat up a new piece of glass, and roll it in those broken pieces. Some of them stick. And from that, I make a new piece, a gift for the couple that has some of the broken pieces from their cup that they broke under the chuppah melted into the piece. So you see little, basically the design, the dots of color design on that piece are made of the cup that was broken under the chuppah. So this has the idea built into it of, in our, like for example, like when Rabbi Akiva saw the temple was destroyed and he saw a fox running around, right? It's a famous story that comes up. And he laughed. He said the temple was destroyed and he said a fox was running through it and he laughed. And he was there with other sages and they said, Akiva, why are you laughing? How could you laugh at such a tragic moment? And he said in that moment, if the prophecy that the destruction would happen came to fulfillment, that means that the prophecy of the rebuilding will also come to fulfillment. And therefore he laughed. So we have this very deep, say, balanced way of looking at things and remembering that really there's a lot more to the story, whatever side of the coin we're on in the moment. If it seems like we're rising or if it seems like we're in a challenging moment, we always know that there's more to the story. And so this wedding glass gift that I created is basically bringing that story together. It's bringing the joy of the moment of the chuppah into the piece. It's bringing the memory of the brokenness into the piece. And then that piece itself is brought into the home of the new couple. So usually I give options of what I could make with the broken pieces. The options are basically a mezuzah cover, a kish cup, a candle holder, a salt dish, a pomegranate. And usually, interestingly, people pick a mezuzah as their gift. And I think it's really fitting. I think it makes a lot of sense because that mezuzah it's the rebuilding. It's a new home, right? The new couple is creating their new home. and the broken pieces are integrated into the wholeness of a new piece, and the home then has that on display. And as a mezuzah, for a reminder. Okay, so now we're getting, I did a bunch of designing there. Let's see if we can see it. See a little bit there. As it cools off, there's a little bit of drawing on there. And now we're going to get to the blowing. So every artist has their tools, machines, different ways of making things. The glass blower's most important tool is their breath. Like we said in the beginning, the ruach. And normally we don't really think about breath and breathing. We breathe, it's a natural part of life, but there are moments in life that we notice breath more than others. For example, when you were born, when a baby's born, we notice, right? The first breath that you breathe, that I breathe, that your child, grandchild breathes, somebody notices that first breath. It's an amazing, miraculous moment revealed. And that moment at the beginning of life is really taking us back to the very beginning of life. The very first person, Adam, came to life with a breath. Adam in Hebrew is the same root word as Adama, which means earth, dirt, material, lots of potential, but nothing happened yet. And then it says this little puff of air is blown into Adam. That's the glass floor analogy we're seeing right now, where I puff a little bit of air into this piece and it comes into its shape, right? So by seeing glass blowing, it gives us an opportunity to contemplate the preciousness of every breath, how exact and perfect miduyak every single breath is, which is an amazing thing. Think about it. Every single person in all of creation, every single breath that they breathed, it worked out, right? It was just right. And when you see what it takes in glass blowing to get it right, so to say, basically I have to heat up the glass enough, but not too much. I need to blow at the right moment. I need to stop at the right moment. I need to blow hard enough, but not too hard. Everything is so specific, and those margins are really there. You know, there's only, if you go outside of the margin, it's not going to work. And this is giving us a special appreciation and insight into the preciousness of every single breath. So you see the air goes in and pushes the glass out. In this case, I'm making a mezuzah cover. So I'm going to now draw the letter shin on this design. So it's in there. We traditionally have the shin on the mezuzah. And I really like this design. Let's see if the camera actually can show it. See if you can see it. Any better lighting there, maybe? I'm going to get the shin on here.
But I just love that idea that we're marrying the invisible and the visible, that somehow we're draping glass over the invisible to make the invisible be seen.
Nice. Yeah, it's really beautifully said. Yeah, it's, you know, mystery can be really good because it kind of helps us understand actually how mysterious and beautiful everything is. Because we have a lot of tendency to go for the surface, and the beauty of the mystery is just incredible. Put a little shit on here.
It sounds like you were actually in the class before this with our Rabbi Akiva, because
oh, wow. Nice. Okay. So let's see if you guys are going to be able to see this. That glowing shin on there, let's see if it can come into focus. Okay, so the shin and the design, the drawing around the sides. And you know what, maybe I'll take a nice picture of this and send it to you, Kim, after, so you can post it for everyone to see the final product.
That would be amazing. That
Yeah.
would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll do that. So, okay, so now basically I'm coming to the end, and I have this handle attached to my mezuzah. I don't want the handle anymore. And you might be wondering with glass blowing, how does a glass blower know how hard to blow? It's a bubble. If you blow hard enough on a bubble, it'll pop. So in certain cases, opening up the bubble can be really useful. on purpose, popping that handle off. Okay, I just took it off, opened it up, and there's the popped bubble. And again, just, you know, whether you're opening the bubble or making the shape, everything is just so specific. And glasses, it's just like a constant dance to find that, that happy medium where everything works and goes the way that you want it to go. It's not easy, but it's pretty gratifying when it works, when it actually happens with all of that challenge. And I like to close my mezuzah covers with fine Israeli wine corks. That's my tradition that I have here. So I have a collection of fine Israeli wine corks, and I use them to close the mezuzah covers. And then I attach them to an olive wood backing that already has little holes in it, so it's really easy to put it up wherever you want to put it up in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sandy Nierenberg, do you have a question? I saw you unmuted.
I had a question, but without knowing it, she answered my question. My question was, how do you affix a glass mezuzah to the doorpost? But she answered it before I asked.
Nice. Yeah, so maybe in a moment I'll just show you this as I take it off, and maybe I'll show you a finished mezuzah cover, and then God willing, I'll finish this up and I'll take a good picture of it so you can pass that on to everyone and they can see the final product.
I certainly will. Susan Rosenbaum, do you have?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, because I missed it, how would one get in touch with Sheva directly?
I will also include, it's on the website, her email address and website.
Okay.
And I'll be putting it, for Sunday's newsletter, I'll be putting the picture in with just some other information for those of us who want to reach out to Sheva. Before we meet her, when we go visit on the next IJKL Israel trip.
Yes.
Sandra Lilienthal promised us she would take us, so we're gonna go for it.
Amazing. So I don't know how the lighting is here, but here's our mezuzah cover. Still glowing on the bottom there, it's still hot. And the design on there and that whole process that we went through. And I'll send you a nice picture with lighting in the back put on and everything, so you can really get a sense of what we did. But I hope you all enjoyed that. I really enjoyed getting to be with you. And
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's really, really my pleasure. B'simcha.
Before we sign off, although technically we've taken our hour with you, do you have a few more minutes in case somebody has any other
Sure.
questions about the process? And then we'll be able to get in touch with you to take home your work separately. But I always want the program to be about the artist.
Sure.
I'd like to know how long you've been living in Israel.
I've been in Israel now. I made Aliyah in 1999, so it's over 20 years now. I came in 98 and I made Aliyah officially in 99.
Thank you.
Okay. Ellen, do you have a?
Yes, I have a question. The first piece that we saw, which was the cup with the dancing women together in a circle, when you said it was layers, when you see their faces, if you're looking inside the cup
Right, exactly, yeah. And it's, you know, it's abstract. I didn't want to make it too specific, the faces, but it's, you know, it's like the front of the face, and then on the back I did the hair or a hat. So it really is, if you could imagine, it's probably about 3 glass layers to actually get that effect to work. Yeah, wow. Which to me, once I realized I could do that, now that's actually really interesting. You know, that's like a really cool discovery.
Very cool.
You can visit it when we do the IJKL Passover Seder, and that will be our Miriam's cup.
Nice.
So thank you. Is there anyone else before we go on with the rest of our days? So beautiful. You are as beautiful as your work is, Sheva. Your inner beauty and your outer beauty shine like light and joy. So thank you for for opening your heart and gallery to us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really
Thanks
appreciate it.
for pushing
Thank
the-
you so much. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Sending you all lots of love from Israel and Sfat, and can't wait to see you all again here. We're waiting. We're waiting for that to happen, and we're yearning for it, and it's going to be really great when it does happen.
Unbelievable. Thank you.
Kim, thank you